Alright. Make sure it's actually online. There it is. Alright, so like always, whenever I'm playing the game, I'll write down little bits of places where I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do here, on a piece of paper, and then I'll go over them after in a review. Mainly because if I try to review the entire game, it'll take about 4 hours. So, let's get started. And this time I'm not delayed any, so if you have any questions or anything, feel free to post it in the chat and I can answer immediately. Thanks, Master Zed! Let's see, sure you made only 2 notes? I made like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 notes. Yeah, Mahjong is a very deep hole. The more you dig, the deeper it gets. Especially like on Tenhou, it's pretty nice because you have the 4 rooms, and so whenever you get better and you can get into the next room, then you're like, wow, I'm pretty good at this game. Jump into the next room, and then you get crushed, and you're like, ow. Then you get better, and then jump in the next room, and repeat the process. And this is like the final room where, yeah, the crushing is especially bad here. Alright, first off, East 1-2. Yeah, AIs are pretty fun. Like the Mahjong Flash game is really, really good for starting out. Or like when I first started to learn Mahjong, or Japanese Mahjong, I started playing the Tenhou Unreal Mahjong game, which is like Mahjong except everyone has like superpowers. So like Reimu makes it so that no one can run off for discards. Marisa makes it so that like all your tiles just become like Dora tiles. That's pretty fun. Alright, first, this one right here. Yeah, I messed this one up in the game. So, right now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks, but we need a pair, and so one of these blocks should probably go. Normally in this case, you'll just throw the 8, 9 right here, because it's like the weakest one out of all of your blocks, because these 3 are already complete, and then this one right here is a 4 and a 6, which can expand to the 5, or with the 7 or the 3, even if you don't complete it. So, Tenhou is a bullet curtain game. Oh, no, not, yeah, Toho, not Tenhou. Sorry. Yeah, every time I'm talking about Toho to people, I'll accidentally like slip in Tenhou. They both start with ten or te and end with ho. Or actually no, they both start with T and end with ho. That's it. Yeah, you don't really need to know Japanese to play it. It's just kind of like clicking around buttons and figuring out what's what. And it's against AIs and whatnot, so it's, you know, just a brute force trying of it. Let me see. I don't remember where it's at. Kafka. So I originally learned Mahjong from one of my friend's WordPresses. And at the bottom of that, he had a section of like how to play on Tenhou and Toho Unreal Mahjong. So I think the link is still there. Yeah, there it is. And I think there's even newer versions out right now. Alright, so if I shouldn't have thrown the 8, 9, or why shouldn't I have thrown it? Mainly because I'm missing a pair right here, and normally, though I would throw this, I have this shape right here, which is the 2, 3, 4, 4. So if I complete this 7 right here, and I get Tenpai, then I instantly get Tenpai on the 1, 4 weight, which is a pretty nice weight, plus the 4 is the Dora, so throwing this out actually might be pretty good, but I also have Tanya on this hand if I do get rid of the 9. If I draw like an 8 or a 3 or a 5 right here. I don't know, maybe this one is better. And yeah, if you're trying to get, I don't know, I wouldn't say read Riichi Book 1 is really good for getting, like, basic strategy. Whenever you first start out the game, like, you know, just playing AIs and then trying to figure out all the Yakus and, like, kind of, like, a general idea of, like, what's going on is really good. Or you can do like me, start up a Tenhou account and you only go for Yakumons. And then your rate goes from the starting 1,500 to 1,000, and then less than that. Of which this is the same account that did that. So if you ever get your account to you know, less than 1,000 R and you're like, oh, I got to start a new account now. This one's like too bad. Nah, you can bring it up. It just takes time. Let's see. What is that? I know you can have 2 row of 3 or 3 of the same in one pair, but sometimes it doesn't count. Huh. 3 rows of... a row of 3. A run? Yeah, the basic of a Mahjong hand... Well, there's 3 basic shapes for a Mahjong hand. The first one is what, like, 99% of all hands make, which is 4 groups of 3 and 1 pair. Where a group of 3 is either a run of 3 or a 3 of a kind. And then the other 2 hands are a little bit special. One is 7 pairs, so if you get 7 pairs in your hand, then that's also a complete hand. And the other one is called Kokushimuso, or 13 Orphans, which is having 1 of every 1, 9, and honor tile. And if you win that, it's like 32,000 points. Or if you're dealer, like 48,000 points. Alright. Yeah, considering Tenhou here, I think actually the 9 is a little bit better. Mainly because I can call the 5 as well. But if this was, let's say, I don't know, a 6-8 instead of this 8-9, maybe 6 would be better. But then it makes it a little bit harder to use the Dora, so I don't know. Questions? Yaku are the criteria, so the winning conditions that you need for a hand. So for instance, you have Riichi, which is getting 1 away from winning with a closed hand, so like not calling Chi or Pon, and then basically declaring Uno. You say to everyone, I'm 1 away from winning, and at that point you can't change your hand, but the benefit of it is you get a lot of points. So in the Western world, we often call Japanese Mahjong Riichi Mahjong, because Riichi is really, really OP. Alright. Shuri says you can still cut the, call the 5-mon cutting the 3-pin. You just switch to a 8-so pair weight for now. Ooh, that is true. That is pretty nice. That actually might be good, because then if I get the 7, I get the instant Tenpai. If I get the 5, I can instantly get Tenpai on the 8, which if I was going to wait for a Tonki anyway, or if I was going to wait for a pair weight, I would probably choose the 8 over the 3. The only downside to that is I lose the 4 draw. But is that really that bad? Maybe. Yeah, 3 actually might be good. Let's try to throw this hand into Hitori Mahjong Simulator real quick. I'm kind of curious what it'll say. So Hitori Mahjong Simulator is just a single-player Mahjong simulation device. So, what is the starting hand? We can just input the hand really quick. 6, 7, 5. Okay, and then we'll change the door tile. This is the door indicator. And we can run that, and look at the results. There it is. Alright, so according to this, what do we got? So it's suggesting throwing the 9, which this calculator can't account for calling tiles. So actually 9 might be doubly good here. But if we change it to, like, I don't know, the second row, is it still 9? It looks like 9 still beats out everything else. So yeah, maybe that is good. Alright. Oh yeah, yeah, it says Dora, but it's actually the indicator. That's a bit confusing to me as well. Wait. Next question. What does this already say? The Agati case one suggests 3-pin is better, so I wonder where the difference is. I think the difference is most probably in the value. Well, actually, no. Even in the actually, is 3-pin better? Looking back on this page, if you look at this row right here, click down real quick. If you look at this row right here, this is the winning percent of if you were to draw this hand all the way up to the end of the round. What is the percent that you're going to win it? Currently, 9-so has the highest percentage out of all of them. So that probably boosted up a lot, whereas 3-pin only has the 38%. That does have a higher tempi rate. So much tempi, you're over 100%. Yeah, I get that too. Especially like whenever your weight's the Dora, or even like the Suji of the Dora, people are a little bit weary of it, I think. But of course, you know, you don't have any other options, and it's like, well, I might as well. But in this case, we also have the option for Tanyao, and even if we do open up this hand, it's going to be at least 3,900. If we get to Tempai and we end up going Dama, which is actually what we ended up doing right here. So Dama is just getting into Tempai with a closed hand and not calling Richi. And so the reason I didn't want to Richi right here is because 5-mon is really, really bad. It's right next to the Dora. There's only one tile remaining, or I'm sorry, there's only one tile. And most importantly, with this hand, we can still win even if we don't reach. If, on the other hand, instead of, let's say, a 1, 2, 4, we had a, 2, 3, 4, we had a 1, 2, 3, we might want to reach in that case, because we have 2 Dora, and if we Tsumo, it's a Monkan. But right here, staying closed is fine. If we draw a 3 or a 7, then we can figure out what to do from there. Alright, next up, second turn on East 2. What was I confused about here? This shape. Yeah. So we got 2 Dora in our hand, which is really nice. But if we look at the blocks, we got 1 block, 2 block, 3 block, 4 block, 5 blocks. So we got like pretty solid 5 blocks, except several of them are pretty bad. This one is like a Kanchan, so it's only waiting on the 2. This one is a Penchan plus a pair, so we have the pair of the 2s and it's waiting on the 3. And then this one is like the same as this, except with an added pair right here. So they're not ideal. Usually when you get to 1 away from winning, you almost usually want to always have like a double-sided weight. But most importantly, even to get to 1 away from winning, you need to kind of like open the floodgates so that you can actually get there in the first place. Because, I don't know, let's do an example. If I draw a 2 right here, now I need the 3 or like the 6 or the 5 to get to 1 away from winning. But that's only, let's see, 4 plus 2 more tiles. Or 4 more tiles. So that's 12 tiles away, which on average is going to be somewhere between, it's about like 10 turns to draw that, which isn't the best, but it's okay. You'd pitch the 6-0 yourself. Yeah, the 6-0 right here is pretty good in that like you confirm your blocks. Because if you ever read Daina Chiba's Riichi Book 1, one of the things they talk about there is the 5-block theory. So in Mahjong, you have 4 groups of 3 and 1 pair. So you always want to usually keep around 5 blocks. And if you have more than that, you just like cut them off. But right here, the 6 is really good for one thing in that it's in a 5, 6, 6, 7 shape. So if we draw a 4, a 5, a 7, or an 8, we immediately get a completed run and also another double-sided shape to work with. So this shape is really good for getting rid of our problem, which is we have too many bad shapes. So right here, we kind of don't want to get rid of this shape because it will lead us to victory. So what else can we do? We have 4 pairs, but we don't want to look for 7 pairs in this case. It's pretty far off, and we have a lot of red Dora with some decent potential. So instead, we probably either want to drop this shape right here or this pair right here. So the reason why we drop a pair is because we already have too many pairs. So pairs kind of are weird because if you have one of them, then it's like, well, you know, you can use that as a pair. And if you draw a third of it, then it doesn't help you in a lot of cases because you lose your pair, right? But if you have 2 pairs, then that's really good. Because then if you draw a third of either of your pair, you have a set of 3 right there, and you still have your other pair. But what happens if you have 3 pairs? If you have 3 pairs, then you can still, you know, draw a third of either of those pairs, and you'll get that triplet, and you'll still have some pairs left over. But it's not as efficient as having just 2 pairs. So right here, this is technically a pair, but we're not going to treat it as one. So we have 1, 2, 3. So ideally, you want to get rid of at least one of these. The 5 is kind of good because it uses the red 5, and so we want to keep that around. The 2 isn't bad, and so the 9 is kind of sticking out. It's mainly because if we get rid of the 9s, we could potentially even move this hand over to Tenhou. So get rid of the 9s. If we draw 4, then we can drop the 1. Confirm this as our pair, drop the 1 right here, and then boom, Tenhou, Dora Dora. Which Tenhou is a Yaku where you don't have any 1s, 9s, or honor tiles. So, yeah, I kind of like the 9 here. Which is, I think, what I did in game. Okay. Next question. Shori says, I suppose the 9-pin, though I could see as an argument for the 1-so as well. Yeah, you could see an argument for the 1-so as well. Usually my rule with keeping around 4 pairs is if I have a completed set, or if I have any like really good shapes, so like this right here, I'll try not to keep 4 pairs because the chances that I'm going to go for a Mensu hand, in other words, a 4 groups of 3 and a pair hand, is a lot higher than going for a 7-pair hand at that point. So that's kind of the rule of thumb that I use. Okay, next up, 10th turn, right here. Oh yeah, this was interesting. Actually, wait, was this the interesting one? Oh no, it was the turn right after this. Okay, this is the interesting one. So, dealer right now has 3 calls, and most importantly, they called some very questionable stuff. So if we go back in time a little, they have a closed con right here, and they drop the tile that they drew. And they have an open hand, so at this point we can probably assume pretty safely that they're in Tenpai. So we kind of got to be wary of whatever they have. So 7 dropped right here, so I was able to drop the 7 safely. And then I drew this 2. So now I have a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shape. The Dora is the 6, and the new Dora is also the 3. So I have 3 Dora right here with my own wind. So it's pretty good, and I can get a 3-sided shape right here with a double-sided shape right here. So the only kind of dangerous tile that I need to drop is this 8. And then the dealer kind of dropped the 7 early, so it's like, do I want to risk throwing this 8 right now? Normally, the shape is also footy 10. Oh yeah, I did cut the 1-so before. Ooh, that's a good point. Maybe I shouldn't keep this 2 then. Well, I guess even in that case, the 2 is still kind of dangerous for the dealer. And the biggest thing I don't want to do right here is risk a lot without getting something for it. So if I'm going to throw a dangerous tile to the dealer, ideally I should be in Tenpai, because most probably they're already in Tenpai, which means they're 1 away from winning. And so if I throw out dangerous tiles when I don't have to, when I'm not even 1 away from winning, that's going to bite me in the butt a lot. So yeah, maybe I should just throw pay right here. The reason I kind of didn't want to throw this was just in case there's a con on the field. So if either this person or this person right here declares Ricci, what am I going to do? So looking right here, the only safe tile I have for them is the 8. So that's not that bad. For this person right here, I don't have any safe tiles. But their discards look kind of barren, so they're probably not near Tenpai right now. But they could be. Yeah, 2-so feels more dangerous than the 8. Actually, normally I would say that is the case, but there's one special condition right here that makes the 2-so not as dangerous as it seems, which is, if we consider right here, would you say 2-so or 8-so is more dangerous? I would say 8-so is more dangerous, mainly because the Dora is the 6. So even if they did have, let's say, a 6-7-7 shape, them cutting the 7 early on to confirm their Dora is not rare at all. In fact, it is probably expected. And even right here, when they conned and this became the new Dora, they didn't change their hand any for it. So if they were planning around it before, planning around the Dora is a little bit more expected than around the 2. Though, just looking at the tiles that we can see on the field, yeah, the 2 is still pretty dangerous, because we can't see any 3s or 4s. Yeah, and then early 9-so. But early 9-so is not necessarily guaranteed to be, to mean that they have a 6 in their hand. For instance, for any given tile, in a starting hand, you have about, it's like, what, a 32% chance or something of having any starting tile. Whereas if they throw, let's say, a 9 at the beginning, what are the chances, a 9 of Manzu? What are the chances they're going to have a 6 of Manzu in their hand? The chances of that only goes up just a bit. It's like 38% chance or something. One big thing, though, that you should look at is, I don't think I see it right here, but if they throw a 9 at the beginning, and then they throw from their hand a guest wind, at that point, the chances that they have the 6 of whatever they threw on the first tile goes up to about like a 60% chance. So that's one pattern that you can look at to kind of figure out, like, oh, they probably have this in their hand. If someone calls Ricci, it's sad. Yeah. But yeah, I think I should also cut North right here. I don't have Tenpai yet, so it's kind of hard to fight the dealer. And if I do get Tenpai, then I'll obviously take it, because I'll have an 8,000 point hand on a good side weight. So yeah, I think North right here is a little bit better. I saw this, 5 in a row shape, and I'm like, ooh, the greed! But yeah, I didn't even consider that I had a 1 thrown as well. Not to mention that dealer's probably Tenpai. Yeah, that's a miss on my part. Alright, next question. East 2-2, 3rd turn and 4th turn. Sherry says, the interesting thing is that if you get the 3-6 pin, do you take free 10 Sun Minchan or close 7? That's hard. I think I would take the 7. Mainly because the dealer is probably in Tenpai, and everyone on the field kind of knows that because they called that con 3 turns, or they have like 3 open sets, and so if they draw something dangerous, they're like, I probably want to defend against this, and they might drop the 7. And so I think it might be a little bit better to drop the 2 right there, but I might just be biased because I dealt in with the 8. Alright, so for this shape, what do I drop? So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks right here. So I have too many blocks. So usually when you ever have too many blocks, you can do one of 2 things. You can destroy the weakest block, or you can keep 6 blocks and kind of just like float with them. Especially in this case where I have a couple of bad shapes, and so if I have a 2-4 and 7-8, and I draw the 3 first, then I can just drop the 7-8 or 7-9. Or if I draw an 8 first, I can just drop the 2-4. Did I say 2-3? Yeah. Yeah, going back to this previous hand of why was it the 8? So this shape right here was, actually we can go back and confirm it. So why did they drop the 7? So they dropped it right there. So if we look at their hand, so yeah, they had a 7-6 shape. That's a really good hand. Like, wow. Yeah. So they had the 7-6 shape, and even if they keep the 7 and they get like a 3rd one, they would have to drop the Dora. So they don't want to drop the Dora, right? So what they can do instead is just drop the 7 that they drew. And this is good for 2 reasons. One, it confirms that they have the 5-8 shape right here using the 6-0 Dora. And because the 7 came out, the 8 looks a little bit safer. For instance, me, whenever I was like, should I really throw this 8? It's like, well, the 7 came out early, so good chance they probably don't have this shape. But in this case, because it is the Dora, this is a lot more expected. So that's a kind of a red flag I need to watch out for. Alright, back here. So Master Zed says white would be his drop. Would that be my drop too? That might be my drop as well. Or maybe, I don't know. So what is this hand going to become? We have a few bad shapes, and even if we get closed hand, it's probably going to be deep within 2nd round, or the 2nd row, and it might even end up being a Richinomi. But we have another alternative here, which is we have a pair of our West. So if we want to call, there's a couple of necessary things we need. So there's usually 2 types of calls in Mahjong. One of them is you're calling with a hand that is just really nice, like really expensive. For instance, if right here we had 3 Dora, like I don't care what I'm holding on to, like if I have this and 3 Dora, I'm going to call it, call everything, end up on a Tonki weight, doesn't matter. I just want my Mongon. The second type of calling that you would do is what's called a Kawashite, which is basically calling like a quick hand to stop other people's big hands. But to do that one right there, to do a Kawashite, you need some stuff, you need to follow a certain set of criterias. Because if you just open up, like, with a cheap hand on, like, anything, and then someone reaches, and you're like, wow, I'm not even Tenpai yet, and I don't have any safe tiles. What do I do? Oh no! And then you explode. So to avoid that situation, there's a couple of rules that you can follow that makes calling a lot safer. So, let's see. So what do I need to call? I need 3 things. The first thing is, well, obviously, I need some type of criteria. I need a Yaku. So that's my wind right here, which is my west wind. Second thing I need is going to be a safe tile. If I open up and I'm not in Tenpai yet, I need to have some way to defend against a person to reach, at the very least against the Epot's turn, the first turn after they reach, because I really don't want to deal into that. So if I can keep around like a guest wind, or in this case I have a white dragon, which is not super safe, but it's better than most all number tiles. for all 3 players at least, then that can kind of fit my criteria. And then the third thing I need is a pair. Because whenever you open up with a quick cheap hand, you don't want to get into a situation where you end up at Tenpai and you have a bad weight. And the way that most normally happens is if you don't have your pair, because getting a pair with an open hand is really hard. Everything else you can just call, right? So even though this 3 right here for the 2-4 shape is kind of hard to get because there's only 1 tile I'm waiting on, if this person drops it, I can call it. But if I don't have a pair, I can't call my pair until I get to Tenpai. But at that point, it's too late because I won't have like a good weight, and I'll just be like grasping for straws. Or more likely, I'll get stuck in 1 shanten and someone will reach, and I'll be very sad. Guess 6 mon would be a good weight. Yeah, 6 mon also might be a good one, I think. So we do have, if we consider opening our hand, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shapes. So we still don't need all of these, right? Because that's the case, rather than keeping around 2 bad shapes, we can keep around the 6. Because if we do keep that around and we draw a 7, then we get rid of our other bad shapes, and now we only have good shapes. Also, if we keep the 7, we could technically get lucky and even potentially upgrade to Honitsu with a white dragon draw as well. And also if we get a 5, then we can have a 3, 4, 5, 6 shape, which is also really, really good for getting rid of your bad shapes, because then you can draw a 2, a 2, a 4, a 5, or a 7, and instantly gone. And also in this shape, we can also draw a 1. So in that case, I probably want to drop either the 2, 4 or the 7, 9. So we have Yakuha and we have 1, so we're probably not going to go for Tanyao. So I want to keep whichever one is more likely to win if I end up with that as my weight. So would I rather wait on a 3 or would I rather wait on an 8? And so in that case, I would want to wait on an 8 because 2s and 8s are easier to come out than 3s and 7s. So then I need to break up this. So which one do I throw first, the 4 or the 2? If it's later in mid-game, you want to probably start with the 4 because it's a little bit more dangerous. But because we're really early on, we can start with the 2. That way, if we draw the 5, then we instantly upgrade to a good shape, and then we get rid of the 7 and the 9. But right here, I'm like, no, I'm going to throw out the Haku. And I don't agree with that. So yeah, this is kind of a interesting open hand shape, I think. But yeah. And the main reason I'm looking at a lot of these questions from in-game is because in-game, you don't have that much time to think. You got like 5 seconds or so. But if I look at it after game, then I can just like carefully look at each individual situation, find out where are my weak points, what patterns did I miss. So like this one right here, I think I definitely probably should have kept it at 5 blocks. You love this breakdown stuff? Well, thank you. This is basically all I do all day. Play Mahjong, look at it, repeat. It's the lifestyle. Alright. Oh wait, I missed a thing. Next up, on this same one, we have the third turn right here, which I dropped the Haku. And now I have another question for this fourth turn. What do I drop? Yeah. Yeah. So the Dora is the 2, and so now if I have this 3, I can technically use 2 of the Dora, one with the 3-4 shape and one with the 1-3 shape. So should I keep this 3 around for the 6? Maybe. Maybe. Normally, if the 3 wasn't the, if the 2 wasn't the Dora, I'd probably just like throw out the 3. But in this case right here, because the 3 is the Dora, we might be able to do some stuff with this. Plus, the most important thing right here is we're still Tatsu over. We still have too many blocks, because we can only make 4 groups of 3 in a pair, right? But right now we could potentially make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shapes. So keeping all 6 around is kind of inefficient. Plus, this 3 now gives us a new benefit of, if we get a couple Dora, we can just completely change what we do. Or, we could technically even upgrade to Honitsu, if we get really, really lucky draws. So I think this is the same answer as the previous one, which is, I think the 2 is best right here. I don't think we need all 6, and keeping around the 3 and the 6 is a lot better than keeping around an extra one of these. This is one note I made this turn. Oh, you meant East 3. Okay. Did I make a note on that? I might have as well. So yeah, this one I think it's also a 2 as the previous turn. Alright. Next up, East 3-3. I have questions on the 5th turn, 7th turn, and Shori has a question on the 8th turn. Master Zed says, Bah, Honitsu. With a 6-tile switch, you funny man. It can happen. I mean, not often, but we can dream. Alright, first off, 5th turn. Ooh, yeah, this one. I think I messed up right here in the game. So, right now, we got pretty nice shapes going on. We got the 4-5 right here. With this 5, we now have a 4-5 shape, and then we also have a 5-6-7 and a 7-8-9. We have our pair right here. So we're 1 away from winning, right? I'm sorry, 1 away from Tenpai. So we can either throw the 5-so, or we can throw the Chun. Nobody expects the 6-tile switch. Nobody. Alright, so, which one do we want to throw? Normally, you're like, well, I already have lots of good shapes. I already have 2 Dora. What do I need anything more? I should throw the 5, and that way you keep around the safer Chun. But, right here, the 3-so is also the Dora. Not to mention, there's technically a red 5 out there, so if we keep this around, we could potentially upgrade this to not just 2 Dora, but 3 Dora. And even if we do get like a 4 or something right here on this 5, we can just throw out this 5, and then we still have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so we don't lose anything either. So the question is, do we want to keep this little bit of greed, or go for a little bit of safety? And I think the answer right here is we should go for the greed. Mainly because we're still in early East rounds, East 3. And most importantly, it's only the 5th turn. If this was like the 9th turn, we should probably slim down our hand. But usually in the first row, in the first 6 discards, you want to be very greedy. You want to go wide with your hand instead of go slim with it. So yeah, right there, I probably think I should have thrown the Chun instead of the 5. So, next up, this happened. So the 3 was called, and now if we look at our nice shapes that we had, they suddenly got a lot less nice, because this 4-5 shape that we have right here, instead of waiting on 7 tiles, is now only waiting on 4, because they called the 3. So the benefit of keeping this 5 is now a lot higher. Not just for potential greed, but also just to get a better weight. So in that case, we would throw the Chun. Because now if we get a 6 with a 5-6, we get 4 and 7, so we go from 8 tiles right here, compared to the 4 tiles that we have with this 4-5 pin shape. Let's see, Shori says, I think cutting the 5 is fine with Riichi. It's already a Mongon too. Normally I would say yes, but if it's early round, and especially if we don't see anything funny on the field, so everyone has like a pattern, every hand has like a certain pattern of discards that you need to look for. Most normal hand progressions go, you know, like 1s and 9s that are stuck with a 4 and 6. Then they go to their guest wins. Then they go to the lone Yakuhai tiles, so like the dragons and their own wins. Then they go to 1s and 9s, or I'm sorry, switch those 2 around. Then 2s and 8s, then 3 through 7, and then back down as they throw out the safe tiles. So if we consider that, if we look on the field, no one looks really dangerous right now. No one's like screaming, "Whoa, I'm almost Tempai, be careful." If they were, then that's a little bit more reason to slim down your hand because we already have like a really good shape and everything. But because we don't see any like really big threat, we can go for greed without, you know, any punishment for it. Plus, if we do happen to accidentally get, like, I don't know, let's say a 4 with this 5, and then we accidentally get, like, a 3, then we could get Richi Tsumo Pinfu Dora 3. Haneman. Alright. Then, on this turn right here, you said, was this the turn that you had a question on, Shorty? The 8th turn? So at this point, we get to another Tenpai. I'm sorry, another one Shanten, and now we got exactly what we wanted with the 6, and so now we can get rid of this bad shape right here. So, what do we want to throw? Well, because the 5-6 right here beats out the 4-5 right here, because the 3s are gone over here, and a 6 is gone right here, and we have another 6 in our hand. So this shape right here only has 3 tiles remaining, versus this shape right here, which technically from our vision has 8 tiles remaining. So we probably want to break up something within this, and we can either throw the 5 or we can throw the 7. Is there a benefit of throwing either one first? That's a good question. I was wondering this myself in the game. So if I throw the 7 first, what do I get from keeping the 5? I don't think much. Yeah, what do I get? Do I get anything? Shuri says, you can cut the 7 pin, but the 5 pin's a little bit better. It has a higher Sanshoku chance, right? Oh? Sanshoku. Actually, does it? Cutting the 5 pin, you can pick and choose between the 4, 5, 6 or the 5, 6, 7. Oh, that is true. Though in this case, we have the 4 right here. And that's kind of why I was like, oh, maybe I should just confirm this, because we are going for, like, safety-wise, you'd usually start inward, and then you work your way outward. So you throw out the middle tiles, and you throw out the outward tiles. Even for this shape, if I did happen to get a... Yeah, even for this shape, if I did get a 6 first, I would just declare Richi. If I got a 7, I would probably throw out the 7, because I don't want to keep any super dangerous tile if I can help it, since I already have all the shapes that I need, and plus at least 2 Dora. So is there any way I could actually get that 5, 6, 7 Sanshoku? Yeah, I kind of find it hard because I have this shape right here. I don't see any like pattern where I would discard. Let's say if I did discard the 5 first, and then I drew a 7. Would you throw the 7 or would you throw the 4 or the 7 right here? Probably you throw the 7, because we look on the board, the 7 of Manzu is a lot more dangerous, since we can see a good amount of the Pinzu out. And since that's the case, I think maybe confirming this 5, 6, 7 shape right here is actually kind of good. Yep. And then whenever I was going through here, it's like, well, now I can just kind of like mess with them of like, oh look, I dropped a pair right here, or oh, I'm also dropping like this 5. What's going on right here? I don't know if this serves any significance aside to tell everyone, hey look, I dropped a pair and probably 1 Shanten, and I dropped even more. Be careful. Yeah. At this point right here, though, if I did get another 6, I could technically upgrade to Tenhou as well, which isn't bad. Or if I drew like a 3 and I didn't want to drop it, or actually, well, it's probably safe considering what I can see. I could just throw out the norths as well. Reach! And that person deals in right there. If I had to guess, this person's probably in Tenpai, and they probably have like at least a couple door in their hand because they pushed against a Richi from the dealer and a Richi from me. So let's actually see. Yeah, so they were Tenpai with only one Dora on a 6. That seems weird. Oh, I guess they threw the 2 because they had the 3 4s right there. So it's Suji for me, and then it's like a 1 chance for the dealer. But it's right next to the Dora. Then again, they don't have any other safe tiles, so that's literally their only choice. Ah, that's rough. Alright, next up. East 3-4, and we have one question on the 4th and 10th turn. Right here, what do I drop? Yeah, this hand was very interesting. So, in Richi Mahjong, the biggest thing that you want to avoid is a bad shape, bad weight, or a bad weight and no value Richi. So even if I do get to Tenpai with this hand, the only shape that I'm actually really happy with is if I draw a 7 right here, and then if I draw a 3 right here, and I'm waiting on the 6 and the 9. If it happens anyway else, I won't have any Dora to work with, unless I get a red 5 right here, and then I'll end up on either a bad 3 or a bad 7. So I was wondering, should I change this around a little bit? The Dora is also the west right here, and the person across from me looks like they're going for a Honitsu in the Manzu tiles. Honitsu is a half flush. So if I don't want to drop the Dora, how can I use it in my hand? The easiest way I could see right now is if I move over to Chanta and like potentially Sanshoku. So I could get a 7 or 7-8-9, 7-8-9, 7-8, draw a 9 right here. And then I can use either a 1-1-1 or a 1-2-3, and then have this as my pair. And if I do that, I don't have to drop the Dora. Plus, it would upgrade my hand from what would have probably been a only Richi on a bad weight, which I wouldn't take anyway, to a potential Mangan. So throwing 2 right here isn't bad. Plus, from what we talked about earlier, this is also the 3 pair time, where you have a pair right here, a pair with the 9s, and a pair with the 2s. So keeping all 3 around is a little bit inefficient, so we can drop the 2 right here. Just go for 13 orphans. Easy. Easy. Let's see how many more I need. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't need another pair, so let's see. So it's 14 tiles. Only 10 more draws. Except there's only 1 more Haku left. But the dreams. So yeah, I think 2 right here is pretty good. And then 10th turn. What is up on the 10th turn? Oh yeah, this Richi. Oh yeah, this one. So this was a question that I missed because I'm trying to figure out what was the safest tile that I could possibly drop in this situation, because I'm defending against this person who declared Richi. And I thought, well, maybe I should drop the 1s because, you know, the 4 came out right here, so the only ways that they can be waiting on this is if they have the other 2 1s or if they have one of them waiting on pair weights. But there's one tile that's safer than this right here. Especially since the tile that they Richi'd on was the 3. So if you had a 1-1-3 shape and then you drew something else in your hand and you had a choice between waiting on the 1-so Shabo, which is like a triplet weight, or a 2-so only, especially since one of the 2-sos is gone right now, you'd probably choose the 1. So while 1 is kind of safe, it's not like super safe. And we have one better option right here, which is the 8. So the reason why the 8 is actually safer than the 1 right here is because what we can see on the board. We can see 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 7s. So since we can see 4 of the 7s, they can't make a 7, 8, 9. They can't make a 6, 7, 8. So the only way they can wait on an 8 is with a pair or like a triplet. But we can see another 8 right here, and so the only way that they're waiting on this 8 is if they're waiting on a pair wait, which is pretty unlikely considering that they dropped the 7 so early. So the 8 right here is a lot safer than the 1, actually. Oh, Shuri already got it. Shuri knew it was the 8. So good. Yeah, I didn't notice this until I dropped the 1s, and I'm like, oh wait, the 8's really safe. Yeah. Alright. Mistakes like that will destroy me every now and then. Next question. East 4, 3rd turn, 5th turn, 9th turn, 12th turn. What did I do with this hand? Oh my god. Oh yeah, this one. So the interesting part of this hand was this bamboo sozu shape right here, which was very interesting. So yeah, especially since the door is the 2. Yeah, I don't know how to make heads or tails of it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know how to look at this. You can view it as like a 2, 4, 4 right here. Then you have a 5, 6, 7, and attached with a 7 and an 8 is one way to look at it. Oh, and then you're looking at the Honitsu. So for me, Honitsu, you need a couple of requirements for that. One is ideally you need some way to get a Mongon. And then the other way is ideally you start off with a Yakuhai pair or a triplet, or maybe even 2 of them. And then that kind of like right there screams Honitsu. But right here I look at this and I'm like, ooh, Richi Pinfu Tanyao Dora Dora or something. Just go for a full flush instead. That might not be bad either, but considering that we're like 5 tiles away from that, versus if we go for, let's say, a regular hand, we're only 2 tiles away. Honitsu, or full flush looks a little bit hard. We'd have to get some pretty lucky draws to even consider that, since we have these nice Pinzu shapes over here. Alright, so let's go to 3rd turn. Wow, my hand already looks amazing. So right now we're 1 shanten away. We're 1 tile away from getting Tenpai. And what do we drop here? So in the game I dropped the 8 because I have the 4, 4, 5, 5, 6 shape with a pair of the 7s and then a 2, 3, 4 and then a 6, 8 right here. So now I can get Tenpai on the 6, the 3, and the 7. And then I want to keep around the Dora just in case I happen to draw like a pair of it. Then I can switch that out for the 7s. You've only been playing for around 2 weeks? I don't know. It sounds more than that, but maybe you were a fast learner. Man, when I was playing the game for 2 weeks, I'm just like, Yakuman, Yakuman! Like, my entire account. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Let's see. To this. So, here are the stats for my account. After starting it, for almost a year, playing 225 games. If you notice, my first rate was 13%. My second rate was 10%, my third rate was 24%, and my last rate was 51%. Which is pretty bad, to say the least. I don't think I've met a person that has had a worse record on their account than mine. I take pride in it. Yeah, the terminology is a little bit hard on Mahjong. I guess, I don't know, what's the easiest way to learn terminology? Let's see, Osamuko. So there is, if I can find it, here we go. So here's a big list of Japanese Mahjong terminology from the Mahjong blog named Osamuko. a lot of that stuff you don't need to know, but it's kind of good to know the words to describe stuff. So Mahjong is very similar to like Go or like Shogi or a lot of Japanese or not sports, board games, where they have a lot of specific words to describe a lot of specific situations. But I guess that's any game. Alright, so what do I want to drop here? I want to keep one Shanten, no matter what, because this is already a guaranteed at least Tenhou one Shanten, potentially Ipeco, potentially Dora. So I think the 8 right here is pretty good. Plus I'm dealer as well, and so that just makes me going for Tenpai even more alluring. Shori would also cut the 8 right here. Oh, you learn Mahjong from Akagi? Nice. Yeah, most people that get into Mahjong in the Western world usually either get in from watching Akagi or watching Saki. And then you have some people that see it from like Kaiji or also The Legend of Koizumi, but he's nice. So if I got the 8 right here, now I go to the 5th turn and I get exactly what I wanted, which is the pair of the door right here. So I can either drop the 7s or I can drop the 6 and the 8s. Looking on the board, I don't see any 7s right now, so this isn't that bad. Plus 8 came out right here, 4 came out right here. So the 7 from there is looking pretty good. This person dropped an early 9 as well, so maybe, maybe not. And no information over here. So what do I drop? Right here, I think probably the 7. And why I dropped the 7 as opposed to anything else? Yeah, the 7's good. So I can still get Ipeco, which is 4-4-5-5-6-6 shape. I could get, let's say, if I throw the 7 right now, if I get another 2, or if I get a 4, I can throw out the 5, and then have a triplet and a pair, and then instantly get Tenpai on the 7. If the 7 comes out, I can technically call that to get Tenpai immediately for Tenhou Dora Dora, which as dealer is 5,800 points. So yeah, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And then finally, 9th turn. Ooh, right here. Yeah. Yeah. So I can either keep the 7, and so I can also get the 4 and the 2, or I can drop the 7 and then have the chance to draw the 5 and the 7 right here, which I actually think is pretty good, because my biggest neck right now, my biggest bottleneck is this shape right here, because this shape has a pretty good amount of tiles. It has all the 3s and all the 6s out that I can get to complete it, but this shape only has the 7. One of them's out right now, so there's only 3 tiles right here. If I keep the 1, I can also get the 5, which there's 4 tiles that I can't see, so that goes up to 7 tiles. Because before I hit Tenpai, I really want to try to get rid of my bottleneck. And the best way to do that would probably be dropping the 7 here. What does Hayes say? One of the rare ones who learned Mahjong and then years later told me about Mahjong anime? Me too! High five! Yeah, I originally learned about Mahjong at a Mahjong club at the University of Texas. I just stumbled upon it one day and they offered me free cookies, and yeah, that was nice. And then afterwards, because I used to watch anime, and I was scrolling through Crunchyroll, and then I saw Saki, and I'm like, what? They have Mahjong animes? What is this? So that was pretty nice. Randomly picking up Mahjong. That's pretty cool. Alright. So yeah. Do I throw out 7 here, or do I throw out the 5, or the 1? The benefit of keeping the 7 around is I can open up this hand if I get the 2 or the 4. But even if I do throw out the 7, I can still open up with the 7 call of Pinzu, so it's not super bad. Plus, if I get to Tenpai, I instantly gets a Tenpai for Penfu, Dora Dora, potentially Peiko if I complete this shape first. Yeah, I kind of like the 7 here. You think the 6 is a safer tile? The 8 and 9 are out already, which makes the 6 looks better. Well, right here we're not like defending against anyone, so we're 1 Shanten away, so we're 1 tile away from Tenpai. And no one's in reach right now, and so there's no like guaranteed 100% like big threat on the field. When someone reaches, you know 100% that, hey, this person only needs 1 more tile to win. But before that, you're not so sure. Because in Mahjong, like, you're not trying to like never deal into anything, and you're not trying to win everything. You're just trying to get more points than you lose. And the way you do that is exactly as it sounds. You know, win more points than you lose. So if someone has Ricci and they have a 5,000 point hand, and you get 1 away from winning as well, and you have, let's say, a 5,000 point hand, you know, you can either fold and like, oh, I won't deal into you. But even if you don't deal in, on average, you're going to be losing points. Because if they like draw their winning tile, then you still lose points. But if you fight, then you have the chance to gain points. And so even though sometimes while fighting you'll deal in and lose points, on average, you'll get more points by like fighting in that situation than you do running away. Oh, 6 pin. So the reason that we don't want to drop 6 pin here is because then we lose 1 Shanten. Because if we drop the 6 pin, then we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 6, and then we have this shape over here. So at that point, we need 2 more tiles to get 1 away from winning. Whereas with our hand right now, we only need 1 more tile to get 1 away from winning. Oh! I also started with Chinese Mahjong and switched to Japanese Mahjong. Yeah, Chinese Mahjong is pretty fun. It's a lot of like, I don't know, it depends on the style that you're playing, but like regular, what is that? Is it Beijing or Shanghai rules I'm thinking of? I want to say Shanghai, but the general strategy is just win everything as fast as possible. Then you have like Hong Kong, which is like go for like giant, you know, all triplets, half flush, full flush hand. And then you got Mahjong, which is like, I don't know, how do you describe Mahjong? Or Japanese Mahjong? Hide in a corner and throw spears at people. Alright, so yeah, I kind of like the 7 here. Mainly because I want to get rid of my bottleneck. And then when I actually did get Tenpai on this hand with the 6, I already have 1 Tanyao and then the 2 Dora right here. So if I throw out the 1 right here, it's already a 12,000 point hand. But there's only 2 7s left. Or I can drop the 8 and wait on the 5. Though considering what's out on the board, I don't know. 7 might not actually be that great. So this person held on to this 8 for a long time and they dropped it, so they there's a pretty decent chance they could have dropped it from, let's say, a 8, 7, 6 shape, where they drew a 5 and they traded out with 8. This person also dropped a 5 later on, so they could have tiles around it. But then again, I guess the 5 doesn't look that much better. Because if that's the case, then this person would potentially have a 5 in their hand. This person could have even switched out a 5 for a red 5. And so maybe just taking this, even though there is only 2 tiles remaining, might be pretty good. Hide behind the penguin. Yeah, Japanese Mahjong is really interesting because it's like one of the only Mahjongs where like defense is really, really prevalent. But yeah, it's pretty offensive based actually. Especially if you look at Tenhou. A lot of people say, oh, Tenhou is just 4th place avoidance because you only lose points in Tenhou if you get a 4th place. But that's BS. In Tenhou, you know, you get points if you get first, you get points if you get second, no points for third, and you get points for fourth. But the amount of points that you get varies, right? So Tenhou is a lot less about avoiding fourth place than it is getting more first and second places than you do getting fourth places. Alright. And then this person reaches, and I'm like, darn, if I had the 5 weight, it'd be kind of nice, because it's a safe tile for them. Yeah, and see, they did switch, probably switch that out with the red, with the 8 right there. And then I got lucky and drew the 7. So let's see right here. So not from a 8, 7, 6 shape, but from this shape, they switched out with 8. This person had an overflow of the 5s right here, so they did have a 5 in their hand. So yeah, 5 actually was pretty bad. Alright, my read wasn't that wrong. Yeah, Japanese shogi is very, very interesting. If you like shogi, what's his name? Habu-san? Or, well, we always call him Habu-sensei. When I'm in Japan, I go to a place called Pai no Oto, which is a Mahjong dojo owned by a ex-Yakuza guy named Sakurai Shuichi, who's a pretty famous guy in the Mahjong community, of being undefeated for 20 years and all that stuff. But one of his disciples or kind of thing is this shogi pro named Habu Sensei, and he's in the 90s held all 7 major titles before. Even now he still owns or holds a couple of the titles. But yeah, so Mahjong and shogi. How do they interact? I have no idea. Alright, next up. East 4-1, 3rd turn, 4th turn, or 3rd turn, 9th turn, and 13th turn. Good. All the bad shapes. Alright, Shorty says, I'm more confident about East 4-1, 13. You should cut 2 pin because it might lead you to Tenpai. Is this 4-1? Yes, it is. 13th turn. Oh, I also have the 13th turn. Okay, cool. So we wrote down the same thing. So right here, what should I throw? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks technically. But really bad shape right here, really bad shape right here. Technically a pair right here, but I probably don't want to keep it with what I have. And then I have the dragon right here. So I don't know what to drop. I guess the dragon, or red dragon right here is probably the thing to go. Or I could drop the 7 and confirm a good shape right here. Because, yeah. I don't know about this. This is my weak point. Far away shapes that are worth nothing. Yeah, I'm guessing either the tune or the 7 right here. I'm kind of liking the 7 a little bit more, mainly because everything right here has some type of potential. Whereas if I do keep the 7 around, how am I really happy with that? The only way I'm really happy is if I can complete some other shapes and maybe go for an open hand. But at that point, because I don't have any defense to fall back onto, and plus some pretty bad shapes, I probably won't go for it anyway. So since that's the case, I probably actually want to drop the 7 right here. Because if I get another dragon, then I'm really happy. Because I can, open up with that, have the other one as a pair to fall back on if someone fights me. And I'm only losing the other 7, or if I get a closed hand, if it does get to a double-sided weight as the final shape, I can just reach. So yeah, I'm kind of liking 7 here. What did I throw in the game? The tune? No, I did throw the 7. Go me. Alright. Next up, 5th turn, or I'm sorry, 9th turn. board's looking a little bit more lively, and I was wondering, should I throw the 6 right here? And I think it's still okay to throw the 6 right here. Or actually, should I throw the 5? So I have 6 blocks. And I can open up this hand, because if someone does Ricci, I can just throw out my Anko of the White Dragon. And an Anko is a closed triplet. Yeah, so 7-so would have been pretty interesting. Let's see. I guess throwing 6 right here isn't that bad, but it's already middle round. I want to slim down my hand because once you get to the middle row, someone is going to get into Tenpai, most probably, very soon, if they're not already in Tenpai. Hint, hint, wink, wink, person right here. If this person is in Tenpai, I would 100% not be surprised, especially since they dropped this dragon right here. So, like I was mentioning before, usually you start off with like honor tiles, that go with 1s, 9s, guest wins, 1s, 9s, honor tiles, connected tiles, and then you go down until you get to Tenpai, and then you start to keep safe tiles, and then when you complete your remaining shapes, you throw those out, and you take your final shape. So, because he threw a safe tile right here, out from his hand, that's a really big indicator of, hey, really good chance that he's probably 1 Shanten or Tenpai. The 5 doesn't add anything to your hand. Yeah, the 5 doesn't add much. But I guess the question is, I don't know, what is our priority here? We don't want to deal into anyone, but should we even push with this hand? Especially if this person is in Tenpai, I really don't want to deal into them. I'm in first place right now, they're in second place, that would be kind of bad for me. This right here is also Suji of the Dora. And they had to call the 6 pin right here, but they could still be waiting on it. But they didn't call the 3 here. So the 6 is probably good, unless they had another like 7-8, 7-8 shape. But if that's the case, I think they'd be a little bit less likely to call, especially if they're going for like Tanya or something. So I think throwing the 6 here is fine, actually. Because right now I don't want to throw anything that's super dangerous without some type of reasoning. But I think the 6, considering that they didn't call the 3, is okay right here. In the game, I'm like, I don't know what defense is. 5. And real quick, I want to see. Oh, that's interesting. So this is like a bluff? Oh. That's cool. So if you notice, they have 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're still pretty far away from Tenpai right here. And then they kept the tune over the 100% safe Hatsu. So why did they do that? Why did they do that? The only guess that I can think of is this is a bluff right there. Which, on the lower tables, like, mind games don't come into play. Mainly because it's the equivalent of playing people in poker. And if you're playing people that don't know like the basic EV, estimated value of different hands, you just use that and you win against them. But when you're playing on a table where everyone does that, then you need to like go one step above them to kind of like use their own stuff against them. Same thing with this table. The people that are 9-dan and 10-dans are able to basically paint a picture with their discards that the other people now are at the level that they can look at and catch. And might lead them to do other stuff. So I think that Hatsu, the only explanation I can find is that's a bluff. The players don't notice the bluff. Yep. Alright, and then 13th turn, which is the question Shori had. Whoops. Yes, this one right here was a major mistake on my part. So I'm like, oh no, I need to defend, and I threw out the 2. I should have thrown the 2 pin right here instead of the 2 mon, because I'm defending against this person and also this person, because this person declared Ricci, and this person dropped a dangerous tile. So that means, hey, I'm pushing. Be careful. So since that's the case, I want to defend against both of them, but I also, if I can, want to continue my hand. And I have a tile that fulfills both of those criteria, which is the 2 pin right here, because it's safe for them, and it's safe for them. And I have 6 blocks anyway, so it allows me to continue my hand without like any risk. So dropping the 2-pin right here is the best. Nice catch, Shorty. Yeah, I noticed this one in game 2. I dropped the 2, and I'm like, oh no, I could have dropped the 2-pin. What am I doing? Alright. Next up. South 1, 6th turn. So, right now, I have a nice first. It's only South 1, though. This person's dealer, what do I got? I got 1 Dora right here, 2 Dora right here, a 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think the question was, do I want to keep this safe tile right here, or do I want to go for greed and drop the east anyway, so I can build on this 4? And I think I should probably drop neither, actually. If I drop the 8, that's actually not bad either. I could also drop the 1 over here, because I have Tatsu over. I have too many potential groups of 3, because I have a run right here, a run right here, a potential run right here, a potential run right here, and a potential run right here. So that's 1 too many potential runs, because I only need 4. So I don't think I should drop the east, mainly because if I look at the board, people are like cray right now. Like, what is this? Like a 4-pin, a 7, a 4-mon, all 3 different suits coming from their hands. This person right here is not as bad. This person right here is pretty bad. A 1, and a 5, and a 7. If either of these 2 people reached next turn, I would not be surprised. So since that's the case, I really don't want to leave myself defenseless. So I really want to keep this east around. So, what do I drop? Maybe the 4, actually. I don't know. DDR Dan says, I was thinking 1-mon, 2-mon, because they don't really lose out on 3-mon. That is true. Because I don't have my pair, so if I do get the 3-mon, then I get the 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 shape, and so it's not even a backfire. So if I get rid of this, I don't lose anything. Ah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm liking that one a little bit better now. Then I want to leave the 4-pin alone, because if I get anything around that, I can upgrade from that shape as well. So yeah, 1 2-pin, or 1 2-mon sound pretty good. Should I get rid of the 2-mon first, or should I get rid of the 1-mon first? I guess the 2-mon first isn't bad, because I already have a 1, 2, 3 shape, so probably not going to become Tanyao regardless, unless I get a 4. Well, actually, even if I get a 4. So dropping the 2-mon first, which is safe for this person right here, and Suji for this person right here, is probably pretty good. Everything seems potentially dangerous. Yeah. So in Mahjong, you have like a couple of like really big red flags you want to look out for. The first one is obviously Ricci, because they're 100% away from winning. Another one is if people drop the Dora. Usually if a hand drops the Dora like from the hand itself, as opposed to just drawing and discarding it, there's like an 80% chance or something that they're 1 away from winning. I'm sorry, 1 away from Tenpai. Whereas if they like just like draw and drop it later on, that is a potentially good indication that they're 1 away from winning. In this case right here, if I had to guess people's hands, either they're going for a really big hand that's far away, or they're like 1 Shanten, and this person also is probably around the same, probably 1 Shanten. So yeah, 2-mon right here I think is pretty good. Now let's actually see, what were they going for? Okay, he was actually going for, what's it called? A big hand that's, like, a little bit further off. Potentially even Dai Sungen. 2 Shanten right here. This person right here is actually 1 Shanten ready to reach. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. Oh, it's so sad. They have each other's red dragon. Alright, next question. South 2-0. 2nd turn and 3rd turn. So same thing here. I don't want to overextend too much Mainly because we're in South 2 already, I have first place, I don't want to deal into anything big. What is this person doing? They called the 1 and they dropped the 1 and the 2, so the only potential Yakus that they can have now are Chanta, Junchan, Honitsu, Toi Toi, Chinitsu, Yakuhai. Reasonably, at least. So they're not going for something regular. So if I drop the 3 pin here, it's kind of bad in that even if I draw the 7, or even if I draw the 3 right here, I'm going to be stuck with Tenpai on a no value hand with a bad weight. At which point I would then, you know, break it up and go for something that is not that. So ideally I want to avoid that situation completely to begin with, but how do I do that? The easiest way is to keep like a strong tile like the 3 around, because if I get a 4, I instantly get a really good shape, and I can get rid of one of these. Yeah, at this point I think it's probably okay to drop the East. Mainly because I do want to keep a safe tile around, but it's really early on. And the chances that I'm going to get more safe tiles is pretty high, especially since this person is going for a very specific Yaku. They're going to be like a guiding light to me. Plus, of the Yakus that they're going for, most of them could still use this East, so if I do drop it and they call it right now, then I'll have more time to defend. Whereas if I drop it later on, or keep holding it on to it, then they'll have a greater chance of getting a pair of that. If it is like Toi Toi, Honitsu, or whatever. Plus, it's, you know, the first round almost, basically, so yeah, I don't think I need to keep this around. They could have Sanshoku, yes, they could have Sanshoku. Alright, and the next one, yeah, and then they drop the 6, and so at this point it's like, okay, that looks like all the stuff I still mentioned. They dropped a 1 at the beginning, though, so it's probably not Chanta or Junchan. It could still be, but if I had to guess, it's either Toi Toi or Honitsu or Chinitsu. So I got the 7 at this point. What do I drop? So I can either drop the 2, or I can drop the 3 right here, or I can drop the 8. I really want to keep around the Pinzu shape, but do I want to keep all of it around? So I could view this as a 5-6 with a 6-7-7-8-8 shape. So 4 right there is pretty nice, but it's about just as nice as either of these. But this one can actually get a double-sided weight on this side and this side, so I think keeping the 3 is actually a little bit better right there. If this person is going for a Manzu Honitsu, Manzu is going to be pretty hard to get, and so that leads me a little bit more to throw out these. But the bad part of that is if later on I do draw, let's say, like the Dora, and I don't have something to use it with, I'm probably not willing to drop it against this hand. And then I could also drop the 8, which isn't bad either. I think in this case dropping the 2 isn't bad. It keeps the 4 around just in case I get the 5. And then these colors look a lot better, especially with this person right here right now. So yeah, I guess the 2. Drop the 3. Yeah, I think I missed like completely the shape right here. 3-5. So I guess it's not that bad, because even if I draw 6, it will just complete the 6-6-7-7-8-8 shape. But yeah, I still kind of like the 2. Wait. Alright. Oh, and for what they were going for. Ta-da! So yeah, this is right here is probably Honitsu or Toi Toi. Honitsu. The Honitsu chance is also higher in this case because the Dora is also the 5. So whenever you open up with a hand, you usually are aiming for either a quick hand that just like ends the round, or you already have a confirmed or potential Mangan, so an 8,000 point hand, and now you just need to fill it in. And because this is the Dora, that's a lot more likely. Alright, next up, South 3, 0. I cannot read this. Oh wait, no, I missed one on the last turn. There's also a question on the 8th turn. Oh, this one right here. Yeah, I like the 6 drop. Or actually, no, wait. The question was right here. Should I Ricci this or not? So currently, this person right here has no overflow. In other words, they're probably not in Tempai right now. They could be, but probably not. Then what are my weights? I can wait on the 1, and I can wait on the 4. Currently, the 1 of Sosu only has 1 left, and the 4 has 4 remaining. There's 2 5s out, including the red 5, and 2 6s out. So the 4 is looking a lot better right there. And if I don't reach, I can only win on Sumo, or if the 1 comes out. So do I take this reach? This is a good question. In the game I actually took it, but should I? Go for Rion Peiko. That's a possibility, but right now the biggest thing is I don't want this person to win a hand, because if they win a Mongon hand, they're instantly back up in contention with me. Or if they just like Sumo or Ron me, then they're in first place. So if I have a question like this, I'll usually like take a picture of it and then send it to people to get some second and third opinions on it as well. Another option I could do here is, what's today's date? 22nd? Another option I have here is to drop the 7 and keep Dama. In other words, don't reach in my hand, and if I, draw my winning tile, great. And if I don't draw it, if I draw like a red 5 or something, or a regular 5, then I can just bail my hand. Which, that actually might be a good idea. But I don't know, like, this right here, I really don't want it to win. Post that in the Discord channel. So we have a competitive Ricci Hub Discord channel that I post most of my What Would You Do's on. Let's see, Shori says, I think Ricci is probably good. It's reasonably early, and it's hard to imagine the hand actually changing much. The Forso will reasonably come out from your Kamicha as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's the biggest reason why I'm kind of wanting to reach this, is because of my remaining tiles, there's 1 right here for the 1, and 4 right here for the 4. So a 4 out of 5 chance that if I don't reach and my winning tile does come out, I'm not going to be able to win off of it. Especially with this person right here. If they're pushing really hard for their hand and they do draw a 4, they'll probably drop it, because they have to. So Ricci right here actually might be safer than not Ricci. I do kind of like Ricci. Plus, yeah, I kind of like Ricci. So someone might... 1 so is also a safe tile against him. Yeah. So in this case right here, if I Ricci, and these 2 people don't have like a good Tempai, well, this person might have to push, because... no, they don't have to yet. Well, actually, they might have to. But in this case right now, everyone's like, okay, this guy's probably going for Manzu Honitsu, and this guy's in reach. So they don't want to drop the 2s and the 4s and the 6s right now, especially if this guy has overflow. Because, even if it's safe for me, it might not be safe for this guy. So then they would want to drop like the 3s, the 6, and the 7s, and like the Suji tiles around them. So like Suji to the 9, safe tile right here. They don't care. 1 right here, Suji of that. That's interesting. And then I got lucky with the draw right there. Alright. Next question. East 3. First turn. And I think that's it. So what do I drop here? probably the 1. What else would I drop? I could either drop the 1 or the 9, but because I have the 4-5 or 4-6 shape right here, if I get a 5, then the 4 can do everything this 1 can do, and so I can drop the 1 right there. Even though I have a 6-9 right here, the 6 is a pair, and so I could potentially still use the 9 with 7, 8, and 9 if that does become my pair, so dropping the 1 right here is a little bit better. Is this what I had a question on? I guess so. So I dropped the 9 right there. Maybe that's because I dropped it. I'm like, oh wait, I should have dropped the 1. Oh, that's interesting. Alright. Next up, final questions. South 3-2, first turn, 4th turn, and 12th turn. So, me and East right now are pretty close together. And if possible, I want to win a quick hand. But I don't have any pair in this hand right now, aside from my honor tile. So it's kind of hard to pull in that with no pair. So what do I drop? Looking at the shapes that I have double Conchon right here, so I can take in the 4 or the 6. I can take in regular Conchon right here, so it's the 3. Then I got double-sided weight right here, and then this floating 4. So I can either drop the 4 or the dragon right here. If I want to end up with a Tenpai that I don't have to reach on, maybe dropping the 4 right now might be a little bit better. But we're close enough that even if I have to reach, I think it might be worth it, because they're only 4,200 points behind me, which is really, really easy to cover. Considering that, I think probably Chun is okay here. What did I go with? Forso? Yeah, I went with Forso. Yeah, in this case, I already have technically 5 blocks, and so slimming down, especially since I'm first, isn't bad. But from this early on, I don't know. That's a bit questionable. Next up, 4th turn. Do I pawn this or not? So I don't have a pair. But the Dora is pretty hard to use. Not to mention, this person right here is disconnected. And so if that's the case, only one of us 3 could win, or no one could win. So there's a lot likely chance that one of these 2 people will get their hands since this person's out of contention. And if they are out of contention and they reach and they run them, they could instantly end the game with me being in second or something, because this person would fall below 0 and the game instantly ends. So, since that's the case, even though it's a bit dangerous, I do have 1 safe tile as the 9 for the dealer. So calling that and dropping the 7 I don't think is that bad. And it's the last one as well. Plus, even if I do get to Tenpai on this hand, most probably it's going to be like the 3 Reachy only, which isn't much better. And this has at least a little bit more flexibility. Normally I wouldn't call something like this, but in this case, maybe. Drawing the 5-so gives a Nobetan. So probably the Chun. Yeah, that's what I was also kind of thinking. Or even just like getting another 3, so a 3-4-so to get rid of this shape. In the previous round, your question was actually at turn 10. Oh, was it? Wait, what was the previous round? But there is no turn 10 in the previous rounds. Or wait, no, that was in... Yeah, that is 3-1. What are you talking about, Kagaksha? Gonna go to Manchester and find you. Alright, so I want to call that. Oh, South 3-0. So it wasn't this turn, but it was this turn. Oh yeah, this is the one. Thank you. Yeah, what should I do here? So I can either take Damaten, dropping the 1 and waiting on the 2 and the Chun, or I could declare Ricci. Or I could even drop the 2 and wait on the 3 and declare Ricci as well. So in this case right here, I'm really more inclined to Ricci. Mainly because the door is kind of hard to use. And 2 people are open with what seemed to be Tenhou, but could easily be a closed Yakuai in either of them. Yeah. And if I stick Dama with his hand, the only tile that I can win off of is the red dragon, which if I reach it, it'll probably come out as well. Plus then I get the benefit of also getting the 2 Mon, which doesn't look super bad, but doesn't look super good either. That's a hard question. Let's send this to my friend, who is also a 7 Dan. Yeah, I like sending my questions to people that kind of have very different ways of thinking than I do. Because then I get a lot of the opinions that I wouldn't normally find myself. So let's send this to him and see what he says. In this case, I decided to reach, but I don't know. I still can't see any Dora, but if they are going for like Tenhou, like in this case, he probably doesn't have any. This one doesn't look as Tenhou-ish, especially since they were holding on to the 9 for so long. So they could very easily have like a Yakuhai and Dora in their hand. So that's a bit scary. But even if they do have that, and they have like a Mongon or something, and they win with that, I'll still be pretty sad. So maybe taking the initiative right here might be good. I don't know. Cool. Alright. Back to South 3-2, 4th turn. Yeah, I still think calling this is probably okay. Drop the 7, and then go for a quick hand. Next up, 12th turn. This one. So the board looks pretty dangerous right now. Not from this guy, but from... Not from this guy either, but from this guy right here. But they haven't declared Ricci. So either A, that could mean that, oh, they're Damaten with a Mongon. Or it could mean that maybe they're not even in Tenpai yet. Or it could mean that, I don't know. They also dropped the 3 right here, which is kind of suspicious. Except they also dropped the 2, so not that bad. So the 3 was kind of bad because if they did have, let's say, a 3 and a 5, and then they drew a 6, then they would drop the 3 and be waiting on the 4-7. But because they dropped the 2 earlier, they probably don't have that. So 7 actually isn't that bad, but it's still pretty bad. Yeah. Though if they win, like, you know, a big hand off this person, or just with Sumo and with a Mongon, that's enough to give him first anyway, and the game will immediately end. So maybe I should continue to push right here. Drop the 7 or drop one of these. So bad with questions like this. Yeah, I think because they dropped the 2, it's a little bit okay. Because I don't think they would normally give up a... Actually, normally you wouldn't give up a 2-3 shape to switch over to a 3-5 to a 3-5 shape, unless that 5 happened to be the Dora. And they also did drop a red Dora, so that's also a pretty big indication that they were at least one Shanten at that point. So them being Tenpai with the big hand is a possibility. Hard questions are hard. Now, of course, in the game itself, I think I did drop the 7 and it didn't deal in. But you don't care about the results in Mahjong, you care about the method. Because regardless of what the results of any particular instance is, if your methodology is incorrect, then you're going to be losing over the long term. So let's post this one on Twitter, see if I get anyone. I need more people in my Mahjong circle who are like really high level, so I can just keep throwing random questions at everyone. Because you can only ask so many questions to the same person every day before they get like fed up with you. But I have so many questions, so it's hard. And yeah, I switched over here because I couldn't throw that. What did they have Tenpai on? Ah, yeah. So they used this as their pair, Dora 3 waiting on the 1 and the 4. They threw the 3 out because... Oh, they did have the 3-5 shape! Yeah, see, they had the 2-3 shape, and then they switched it out with the... Oh, with the 3-3-5. That's interesting. That's cool. That's a scary hand. Alright, glad they did not sumo that. And then the person across got into an amazing Tenpai as well, so that's why they were willing to throw the Dora. Thinking, let's see, Hayes says, cut the 9 pin, but 8 pin would be equally as dangerous. Yeah, so the reason why... where is it? That's 12th turn. So the reason why I wanted to cut either the 8-so or the 5-so, or the 7 right here, is because I still want to keep Tenpai. Because even if I do fold, if this person wins a big hand, especially since this person is disconnected, they just need to run them, and boom, they'll instantly get first place. So I really, really want to try to protect my first place here. Since that's the case, whether I drop the 7, the 5, or the 8, all of those options would still keep me one away from winning, which means I'll still have a chance, even if it's small, to like take away their win. If I do drop the 8, the 9, I go back one away from winning, but that's not that bad, I guess, because I had this nice 4 in a row shape. So if I drew, let's say, the 4, I could get like a nice 3-sided shape, or I could even call chi of 4, 7, or 6, 9. But because I already have the 4 discarded over here, that makes it a little bit more difficult. And so, yeah. Tough questions. Alright, and that's all the questions I got for that game. So, thanks for watching. And I'm going to be jumping into another game with a 5-minute delay. So, if you stick around, thanks. And if anyone has any questions, you can let me know before I jump off completely. So, yeah, the only problem with being in the last room, compared to all the other rooms, is the number of people. So, like, if we look at, like, the first room, we got, like, 200 people. Second room got like 200 something. Third room got 150. Fourth room got like 44. So right now it's around morning time in Japan. But whenever I usually start my streams at like 3 o'clock here in California, ID leak. It usually only has like maybe like 10 people in here, so I have to wait like 5 minutes before I can get a game. But right now it's like the weekend, and so a good amount of people are on. Alright. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next game.